Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Renegade Immortal based on novel. So let's start. At this moment, the golden light closed in and collided with the blood formation on her hand. A muffled bang could be heard as the blood formation collapsed and specks of golden light entered Yao Shishue's body. Yao Shishue wasn't able to control herself, so she coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Her celestial spiritual energy moved like crazy to battle the golden light that had entered her body. Once the golden light enters the body, it causes a lot of damage to the meridians and the flesh. Only by using celestial spiritual energy can it be stopped, as the two neutralize each other. If you and the man from earlier don't die, then that means you are eligible to enter the cave. The middle-aged man's voice was as calm as water. After Yao Shishue heard this, she sat down in the lotus position and focused all her attention on neutralizing the golden light inside her body. She was so focused on what was happening inside her body that she didn't notice the cold eyes that were looking at her. At the most critical moment of her resisting against the golden light, a shadow charged out like a meteor from the void below the platform. This figure was wearing a straw hat, moved as fast as lightning, and arrived on the platform in an instant. He didn't stop at all as he reached out and Yao Shishue's bag of holding flew out. At the same time, his right hand reached out and pointed between Yao Shishue's eyebrows. At this moment, Yao Shishue suddenly opened her eyes and was filled with shock. She wanted to dodge, but she wasn't fast enough, so she watched helplessly as the finger landed between her eyebrows. A destructive force entered her through the spot between her eyebrows and moved through her meridians, destroying them along the way. At the same time, the small remaining amount of celestial spiritual energy in her body was scattered by this destructive force. Thanks to this and the force of the sword energy from the attack, just now, Yao Shishue coughed out blood and was thrown back 30 feet. When she landed on the ground, a strand of grey gas appeared between her eyebrows, transformed into the life seal, and surrounded her entire body. Yao Shishue couldn't control the blood coming out of the corners of her mouth as she shouted, with all her might, "Wang Lin. Want to die? Not that easy." A cold voice came from the figure. The slender figure took off the straw hat. It was Wang Lin. The shock in Yao Shishue's eyes was extremely strong. Wang Lin's appearance was completely outside her expectations. Even if he was alive, he should have still been seriously injured and not have appeared here like this. Also, she had spread out her divine sense earlier and found no trace of him. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he looked at Yao Shishue. Everything that happened was secretly planned by him. From the moment he found out this was the last platform, he began planning. He risked using the demonic ideal to completely fool Yao Shishue into believing he was using his full strength. Then at the moment the sword energy entered his body, he shattered the celestial crystal inside his body without any hesitation. He spent 3 days back in the army camp converting 1/3 of the celestial jades he had gotten from Yao Shishue into a celestial crystal to create an unexpected circumstance. When the celestial crystal shattered, a large amount of celestial spiritual energy was released. Normally, when this much celestial spiritual energy was released, he would have to sit down to cultivate, and if he messed up even a bit, his meridians would be damaged by the large amount of celestial spiritual energy. However, when the sword energy entered his body, the celestial spiritual energy did a really good job of neutralizing the sword energy. Then he immediately acted according to his plan, and put on the straw hat that Yunqiu gave him before sneaking back to the platform. This straw hat contained a large amount of restrictions, and considering Yunqiu was a mid-stage ascendant cultivator, his treasures were naturally very powerful. The effect of this straw hat was to hide divine sense, and Wang Lin had used it many times before to great effects. Unless the other person has reached the ascendant stage, there is no way for them to notice him. How could Yao Shishue know any of this? Wang Lin held Yao Shishue's bag of holding and calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Yao, we meet again." Although he was talking to Yao Shishue, his gaze swept toward the middle-aged man in front of the stone door. The middle-aged man's gaze was still calm. It was as if everything before him didn't exist. Yao Shishue gritted her teeth and said, "You're despicable." Wang Lin faintly smiled. There were many people that cursed him, but the winner was right and the loser was wrong. This was the rule of the cultivation world, and Wang Lin has always remembered it. He smiled. "Fellow cultivator Yao gave me a fake pill, and concealed the danger of entering here. I'm just getting a little revenge. There is no need to praise me so. If my father, the blood ancestor, finds out about this, you will be dead for sure, even if you are a disciple of the All-Seer. Also, I activated a blood soul pill before I came here." Yao Shishue's face was very pale, without any trace of blood. "Why would I kill you when you have blood soul pills to revive yourself? In order to use it, you must die first, so I'll use a spell to seal your entire body. Now that you have no celestial spiritual energy left inside your body, I want to see how you will die." Wang Lin let out a smile, and within that smile was a hint of darkness. Yao Shishue's face was pale and her body had no strength. It was as Wang Lin said. She had no celestial spiritual energy left in her body and her meridians had been shattered. Normally, she would die with her body like this, but the seal on her body keeps sending out waves of life force to keep her alive, trapping her in this cycle of being between life and death. Her life and death were stuck in this cycle. "I only need to seal you in a place, so you can endure thousands of years of loneliness, while being stuck between life and death, but unable to die. Even if you were to try to bite off your tongue to kill yourself, it wouldn't be possible with the seal on your forehead stopping you. I want to see how you will revive with the blood soul pill." Wang Lin's voice was calm, and when it landed in Yao Shishue's ears, it made her expression change greatly. As Wang Lin spoke those words, he couldn't help but think back to planet Suzaku, when his cultivation was destroyed by the giant demon clan ancestor and the cultivator of Shuiyu. After he became a waste, he ended up being thrown into a water prison by bandits. There, he found the skeleton of a female that had been sealed for an unknown amount of time. Wang Lin thought to himself, there is a cycle to everything in this world. He took a few steps forward and stood before Yao Shishue. Then his hand reached out toward her ample chest. Yao Shishue bit her lip, and her eyes revealed thick killing intent and humiliation. This gaze meant nothing to Wang Lin as his hand reached in between her breasts. As he searched, he immediately felt the softness of her body. It has to be said that Yao Shishue was a rare beauty, and her status was also something that attracted people. She was the daughter of the blood ancestor, so normally she was high above everyone, but today she fell here. Wang Lin revealed a smile that was not a smile as he squeezed her soft chest, and when he took his hand back out, he was holding 3 bags of holding. The humiliation in her eyes was strong as she stared at Wang Lin, gnashing her teeth. She has cultivated for many years and kept her virgin body. She had never had such intimate contact with a man before. After putting away the bags of holding, he said, "Fellow cultivation Yao, how about we make a deal?" Yao Shishue stared at Wang Lin and didn't say a word. Wang Lin faintly smiled. "I intend to seal you until your lifespan runs out, but there is a 500-year time limit in this demon spirit land. So I'll ask you questions and take off 50 years for every question you answer. How about it?" Yao Shishue took a deep breath and pondered for a bit. Then she coldly asked, "How do I know if you're speaking the truth?" Wang Lin chuckled and said, "You don't have to respond." Yao Shishue coldly looked at Wang Lin and snorted. "Ask. If you lie, although I might now know it now, I will in the future. At that point, don't blame me for not coming to release you from your seal. The first question, why are you so intent on entering this cave? Wang Lin's question was ingenious, as it covered a lot of things. Yao Shishua turned her head to look at the stone door. The middle-aged man under the stone door still had a calm expression. I just want to enter, there is no reason. You brought this upon yourself. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and his hand formed seals, creating restrictions that fell on the ground to create a restriction circle. As time passed by, Wang Lin created more and more restrictions, and the restriction circle on the ground started giving off a black light. After doing all this, Wang Lin grabbed Yao Shishua and threw her into the circle. His right hand formed a seal and he softly said, "Seal." With one word, the restriction circle quickly shrank and surrounded Yao Shishua. In almost an instant, it formed a restriction sphere. Wang Lin waved his hand, causing the ball to shrink and fly into his bag of holding. After doing all of this, Wang Lin turned toward the middle-aged man before the stone door and said, "Do I have the qualifications to enter?" The middle-aged man's expression was still calm as he slowly said, "The two of you withstood the three-sword energy attacks together, so you naturally are qualified to enter. However, everything inside the cave has been sealed by Master, so if you can't open the seal, it is useless." Wang Lin didn't rush in but pondered a bit and asked, "What cave is this?" "Master's cave." "Who is your master?" "Master is master." "What do you mean who is master?" Wang Lin looked at the middle-aged man. After pondering a bit, he asked, "What were the golden symbols from the 11 platforms before this?" The middle-aged man slowly said, "A guarding spell, but after Master sealed the cave, there was no longer a central control, so the guardians lost a lot of their power. Otherwise, the two of you wouldn't have been able to reach here." Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he asked, "If someone else can withstand three-sword energy attacks while I'm inside, will they also be allowed into the cave?" "If you can break a seal inside the cave, you will obtain the right to enter the cave. After that, the cave will automatically seal, and not allow anyone else inside unless you are dead." Wang Lin asked again, "This cave has existed for countless years. Has anyone else entered here before?" "Yes, but they are all dead." "How do I leave this place?" "Break one seal and you will be able to leave." Wang Lin pondered. He knew that if he were to ask more, the cave spirit wouldn't really say more. After pondering a bit, he stopped asking questions and walked into the stone door. What appeared before Wang Lin, after entering the stone door, were groups of palaces, much like the royal palace of a mortal king. He appeared right at the front door of a palace. A faint celestial spiritual energy surrounded the area. He took a deep breath and immediately felt refreshed. Then he took a step forward, but immediately lowered his head to look at the ground. The ground was paved with green stones and was extremely flat. Wang Lin squatted down to touch the ground with his hand and his expression immediately turned strange. Celestial Jade. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense, and he immediately found that the surrounding area was surrounded in sealing restrictions. His divine sense withdrew at almost the instant he spread it out. All of the buildings here are made of celestial jade. Wang Lin was very sensitive to celestial jade, and now that everything before him was made of it, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Unfortunately, there are very powerful seals on them all. Otherwise, I would have definitely dug all of them out. Wang Lin looked at the celestial jade road with a look of pity. There was a giant pill furnace about 100 feet before him. There were some holes the thickness of his arm on the pill furnace, and bursts of white smoke came out from them. Several hundred feet past the pill furnace was a 3-story loft. Wang Lin walked forward, stopped next to the pill furnace, and looked inside the holes. There was a puddle of water at the bottom of the furnace, and the white smoke was coming out from this puddle of water. I'm not the first person to enter this place. Perhaps there were pills inside this pill furnace before and they were taken by someone. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he looked at the pill furnace. There was a restriction seal on it, but it was in a broken state. It had obviously been broken by someone long ago. After carefully looking around, Wang Lin walked toward the loft. He stopped before the loft and looked at it. The loft was sealed, and there was even a seal on each of the 3 steps leading up to it. This is an all-in-one seal. Once the restriction activates, it can make everything inside and outside the loft into a restriction, and seal the whole loft. This method of sealing was even very rare in ancient times. According to some of the books I've read, it is recorded that this method came from the celestial realm and is referred to as celestial restrictions. Wang Lin looked around and muttered, "This cave is filled with celestial restrictions. Could this really be the cave of a certain celestial?" While thinking about this, Wang Lin became even more cautious. Although the restrictions on the loft before him had already been broken by someone, he would only take a step after carefully checking his surroundings. The loft had 3 floors, and Wang Lin would only take a step up after careful observation. Although this took a lot of time, it allowed Wang Lin to clearly see through all the restrictions inside the loft. This loft was completely empty, not even a table or chair remained. If it wasn't for markings on the ground showing that there were chairs and tables before, Wang Lin wouldn't have thought that they were taken by someone. Wang Lin mocked himself. Even the chairs and tables in the cave of a celestial must not be normal, so it is within reason that they be taken. This 3-floor loft was completely empty. Wang Lin found absolutely nothing inside, and all the restrictions had already been broken. However, as he looked closer, he found that these restrictions weren't all broken by the same person. There were at least 3 different methods used. One of the methods used ancient restrictions and was extremely subtle. The restrictions broken this way would scatter into the form of a plum blossom. Wang Lin had seen this method before on some ancient records. It was called the 18 plum blossom restriction. A majority of the restrictions here were broken with this method. It was clearly done by the same person. This restriction was very famous in the ancient cultivation world, but it was something very few people could learn. Even disciples could only learn so much depending on their status. At most a disciple could only learn up to 9 restrictions. Only the sect master could learn up to 18 restrictions. Just as he was about to leave, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly narrowed. He looked at the markings on the ground that showed that the tables and chairs were moved. There were some marks on the ground where the chairs and table used to be. These marks were created because the small spell that prevented dust from gathering was destroyed along with the seals in here. After carefully observing the entire loft, Wang Lin found a lot of information. First of all, 3 people had entered this loft before him. Of course, there was always a chance that someone else had entered only to find the remains of restrictions like he did. Among the 3 people, the first person to appear was the person who used the 18 plum blossom restrictions. That person must have been very arrogant, and ordinary things didn't interest him. From Wang Lin's observation, everywhere that looked like valuables were placed had signs of the 18 plum blossom restrictions. After this person left, 2 more people came, and their methods were much less professional. The tables and chairs were taken by one of them. This deduction mainly came from the marks Wang Lin saw on the ground. There were some fine bits of sawdust on these grey marks, and if you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't notice them. Wang Lin squatted down, pinched the sawdust, and took a closer look. Breaking the restriction by force caused some damage to the table and chairs here. Wang Lin flicked the sawdust away, and left the loft. There was a long corridor behind the loft with a celestial jade fence on the side, and on the other side of it was a dried-up pond. There were also a lot of remnants of restrictions that had been broken. In the pond, Wang Lin once more found the pattern of the 18-plum blossom restriction. Wang Lin carefully observed his surroundings as he walked through the corridor. Many of the fences around him showed signs of being broken. The deeper he went, the fewer restriction remnants he saw, and after walking 5 kilometers, he saw the end of the corridor. At the end of the corridor, it divided into 3 different paths. Wang Lin stopped at the intersection and carefully looked at the 3 paths. He needed to find which way the person who knew the 18-plum blossom restriction went. That person's restriction was too powerful, so if Wang Lin followed that person's trail, he wouldn't be able to find any treasure. That person was like a famous thief that picked up all the good things, while the later 2 were like robbers that took everything they could. However, their abilities were limited, so some good treasures would be left behind. After carefully looking at the 3 directions, Wang Lin walked a few dozen feet down each path before returning to the intersection. His eyes lit up and he charged down the right path. Although the scenery still looked the same after 1,000 feet, Wang Lin saw broken restrictions everywhere. These restrictions were all broken by force, and there were even some that were only broken halfway, meaning that that person gave up. Every time he encountered a half-broken restriction, he would stop and carefully observe it. He wasn't in a rush to break them and would move on after observing them. The path to the right continued to extend, and there was also a fence on the side. However, it was no longer a pond on the other side of the fence, but a bamboo grove. As he carefully moved forward, Wang Lin suddenly stopped. The right foot he had lifted up slowly returned to its original position. He remained motionless, but there were flashes of restrictions in his eyes. There was a pavilion about 100 feet before him. In the pavilion there was a round table and 4 stools. There was also a jug with a few cups on the table. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he revealed a look of caution and looked around vigilantly. The restrictions around the pavilion were intact without any sign of broken restrictions. There must be something about that wine jug on the table. I followed the last person who broke through by force until here, but it seems he was stopped by the restrictions here. Wang Lin pondered a bit and then took a few steps back. Restrictions flashed through his eyes as he carefully observed, and gradually, his expression became more serious. So that's how it is. The restriction inside the pavilion has tens of thousands of different variations. If I can't figure it out, then once I go within 100 feet of it, I will activate. If someone tried to break through by force, with the tens of thousands of changes, it would be hard to retreat unless their cultivation was heaven-defying. In addition, the most important part is that the restriction at the pavilion is the center of all the surrounding restrictions and can active everything around it. That is why the person who came before decided to give up on this. Although the restriction is powerful, if the person who could use the 18-plum blossom restriction came here, he would only need to waste some time to break through it. It looks like I chose the right direction. No one has gone past this point yet. Wang Lin took a deep breath and revealed a hint of excitement. After he came here, all he saw was the remains of restrictions broken by others. It was as if you had entered a mountain filled with treasure only to find that the treasure was already cleaned out by someone else long ago. The way he saw it right now, this pavilion was a treasure-filled mountain. After suppressing the excitement in his heart, Wang Lin once more began observing the pavilion. He decided to simply sit down in the lotus position and began to study. The restrictions around the pavilion were like a dense series of webs. A normal person would see nothing, but a restriction master would see things very differently. It all depends on their experience with restrictions. If he wanted to break the restriction here, the first step was to observe. Wang Lin sat for 3 days, and in these 3 days, blood lines appeared in his eyes and he began to show signs of fatigue. I can only see about 3,000 changes. I still have a ways to go before breaking the formation. However, the current restriction is inactive, so a lot of the changes can't be seen. As Wang Lin pondered, he suddenly raised his hand. A ray of celestial spiritual energy gathered on his finger, and was flicked toward the pavilion. After flicking his finger, he didn't hesitate to quickly back up. He moved so fast that an afterimage was almost created. The moment the ray of celestial spiritual energy got within 100 feet of the pavilion, it immediately collapsed and dissipated into shiny specks of light. It was like throwing a drop of water into hot oil, as an explosion appeared within the 100 feet area. Once waves began to ripple, a crazy and oppressive force came from the 100 feet area. Then the powerful force surged out and immediately expanded like crazy. If Wang Lin hadn't already been prepared and was extremely fast, he would have already been swallowed by this wave. Wang Lin only stopped after he was more than 1,000 feet away. Although he was retreating, his gaze was still locked to the pavilion, and right now his eyes lit up. There was no less than 10,000 changes in that restriction. Wang Lin silently sat down and continued to calculate. Time slowly ticked away, and in the blink of an eye, 1 month passed. During this month, Wang Lin tried several times to use celestial spiritual energy to activate the restriction to study it. He had a great harvest each time, and slowly gained some knowledge on the majority of the changes that occurred inside the pavilion. At the same time, during this 1 month, he never stopped his deductions. Right now his eyes were completely red, and were about to leak out blood. During this 1 month, Wang Lin forgot everything. He had even forgotten he was inside someone else's cave. Right now the only thing in his mind was breaking this restriction. The more he studied and the more he deducted, the bigger Wang Lin felt his harvest was. This restriction contained tens of thousands of changes, and as he studied it, his understanding of them deepened. Wang Lin learned about restrictions inside the land of ancient God, and the type of restrictions he learned were ancient restrictions. Then he found a cave on planet Suzaku, and accidentally ran into a lot of books. Add on a few hundred years of using them and fusing them, his understanding of restrictions was very broad. His mastery increased by learning more restrictions, and once he finished the 999 restriction flag, his mastery in restrictions reached a bottleneck. Anyone who studies restrictions will encounter many bottlenecks in their lifetime, and if they can't break through, their study ends there. This bottleneck was invisible and was caused by many different factors. Wang Lin gained a lot during this month of research. His restriction skills increased greatly. The various changes in the restriction allowed him to unknowingly break past the bottleneck and walk down the grand road ahead of him. At this moment, he had a 40% chance of breaking this restriction. Although it was only 40%, it has to be said that people could study this restriction for thousands of years, and only have 10 or 20% chance of breaking it. Only those old monsters that have lived for tens of thousands of years, with a lot of experience and knowledge would dare to say they had 40% chance of breaking it. If the person who controlled the 18 plum blossom restriction were to come, I'm afraid he would have more than 70% chance. Wang Lin pondered. He didn't move but continued to deduce. Another month passed. Although he hadn't mastered all the changes in the restriction, he was 50% confident he could break it. On this day, he stood up with a serious expression. Although his eyes were bloodshot, he was in good spirits. He immediately arrived 100 feet from the pavilion, and after calculating for a bit, he took a step forward. Wang Lin wasn't nervous at all for this first step. He was confident that this first step wouldn't cause anything to happen, and wouldn't activate the restriction. After taking one step, there was no change in his surroundings. His expression was neutral as he took another step forward, which was immediately followed by another step. 3 steps was 10 feet, and he directly took 9 steps. He was extremely relaxed the whole time, like he was walking through his garden. Right now nothing abnormal happened. He stopped after 9 steps and restrictions flashed in his eyes. He then looked at the pavilion 70 feet away from him. He pinched his fingers together, as he calculated a bit and then silently walked forward. This time he moved another 9 steps. He had already walked 60 feet. The distance of 60 feet wasn't long, but it took Wang Lin 2 months to calculate a safe path through these 60 feet. This was something not even those 10,000-year-old monsters could easily get past. After 60 feet, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He didn't continue forward, but took 3 steps back. Then he stepped to the side for 9 steps, took another 3 steps back, and then went straight ahead once more. He went in almost a small circle before arriving 30 feet away from the pavilion. His expression was calm, because all of this was within his deductions, and all 10,000 changes were memoized in his heart. Every single step was something he had calculated countless times until he was finally sure. He could only walk so leisurely because he was very confident. Wang Lin knew that if he wasn't careful and took one wrong step, he would suffer powerful backlash. The first 60 feet weren't that bad, but the last 40 feet would be disastrous for him with his current cultivation. However, nothing was absolute, and there was always a path to safety within the restriction. If one could step onto that path in a moment of crisis, they would save their life. This was also something special about celestial restrictions. However, this path of safety was never set, and was constantly moving within the restriction. During the past 2 months, aside from learning the changes of the restriction itself, Wang Lin also focused on deducing the position of the safe path. The reason he went in a circle from 60 to 70 feet was because of the change in the path of safety. He always kept himself only 1 step away from it. At this moment, he stood at 70 feet and concentrated on calculating for a moment. Then his body moved and he directly crossed 10 feet in 1 step. After landing, Wang Lin immediately crossed another 10 feet, but at the moment he landed, his expression changed. Without any hesitation, he took half a step to the left, and at this moment, a black tornado suddenly appeared in the last 10 feet. This tornado appeared out of nowhere and released a violent force. There were also strands of black lightning moving within it. In almost an instant, this 10-foot area was covered in a destructive force. The violent winds surged through the area, and lightning struck out mercilessly. This destructive force was something not even ascendant cultivators could withstand, much less Wang Lin. Especially the lightning, it moved like dragons that could destroy anything. Wang Lin's figure continued to move inside the hurricane, covering the 10-foot area while carefully threading between the lightning bolts. Every step he took was on the path of safety, and one misstep would end with his origin soul being extinguished. The step earlier wasn't a miscalculation, but for some reason, the restrictions started to operate in reverse. After 10 breaths of time, the tornado disappeared as if it had never existed, and the black lightning disappeared along with it. Wang Lin's body moved in a flash and crossed the last 10 feet, landing in the pavilion. Although he had finally crossed the last 10 feet, his forehead was covered in sweat. At the moment he stepped into the pavilion, the area 100 feet around it lit up. It was a bright light that shined on the surrounding area, causing the scenery to immediately change. When Wang Lin looked into the pavilion, it was as if the clouds were spread apart, revealing an area with a fake mountain. There was grass everywhere and a bamboo grove that connected with the bamboo grove that already existed. The change in scenery was as if one had come from death's door and entered another world. At the same time, a calm voice came from the void and landed in Wang Lin's ears. Breaking a restriction gives you the qualification to temporarily own this cave. As long as you don't die, no one else can enter. The moment this voice arrived, a ray of golden light flew in from the distance and stopped before Wang Lin. This was a crystal token. It was only the size of his finger, and it floated in the air and emitted a 7-colored light. This is the cave token. Hold this token and you can enter the cave. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he grabbed the small crystal token and looked at the pavilion. Every stone table and chair had restrictions protecting them and couldn't be casually touched. However, compared to the restriction covering the 100-foot area outside the pavilion, these restrictions were a lot weaker. Wang Lin didn't look at the table or chairs. His eyes focused on the wine jug on top of the round table. Although the restriction on the wine jug was exquisite, it was not difficult for Wang Lin to break. After deducing for a bit, his right hand pointed toward the jug and a water-like ripple appeared 3 inches from it. Wang Lin's finger pointed at the water ripple, creating a wave of ripples. At the same time, he quickly raised his finger and shot out an illusionary restriction that landed on the water ripple. At this moment, the water ripple immediately started boiling and a vortex formed at the center. The vortex spun faster and grew, creating a circular void. Wang Lin's right hand moved like lightning as he reached directly through the vortex, grabbed the jug, and took it back out in an instant. Then the water ripple disappeared and everything returned to normal. Wang Lin revealed an excited expression. The wine jug in his hand was heavy, so it was obviously not empty. He took a deep breath as he opened the lid, then a refreshing scent immediately filled the air. Wang Lin saw that at the bottom of the wine jug there were 10 drops of wine. This wine jug is quite heavy, but it only has 10 drops of wine. However, this is wine from a celestial, so it can't be normal. Wang Lin stared at the wine jug and began to struggle. Shortly after, he clenched his teeth, poured out a drop of wine, and immediately sucked it into his mouth. At the moment that drop of wine entered his body, Wang Lin's entire body suddenly turned bright red. A crazy amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly filled his body in an instant. A tipsy feeling slowly appeared inside Wang Lin's body along with the celestial spiritual energy. The amount of celestial spiritual energy in his body increased rapidly as it moved through his meridians like a flood. Then a hot surge appeared inside his dantian and shot up through his body. At the same time, the tipsy feeling became even stronger. Wang Lin's eyes were no longer clear and became muddy. His body slowly leaned to the side, his head dropped, and he fell asleep. Time passed by, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. Wang Lin was asleep for this entire year, and all the while, sounds of snoring could be heard coming from his mouth. Ever since Wang Lin began to cultivate, he rarely slept, and this was the longest sleep he had in the past several hundred years. Although he was sleeping, the celestial spiritual energy inside his body was rapidly increasing. This speed would even shock the All-Seer if he were here to witness it. When the celestial spiritual energy in his body reached a certain point, the demon crystal in his dantian silently shattered and melted. Demonic spiritual energy suddenly filled his body, but it was immediately swallowed up by the celestial spiritual energy and became part of him. Strands of celestial spiritual energy came out from his body and diffused into the surrounding 100-foot area. During this year of him sleeping, the celestial spiritual energy in the area became extremely dense. While Wang Lin slept, his right hand held the wine jug. This day, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes and let out a burp filled with the smell of wine. His eyes were filled with some confusion as he suspiciously looked around, but the confusion immediately disappeared and was filled with clarity. He immediately stood up and revealed a look of vigilance. Then he carefully looked around and he slowly frowned as he looked at the wine jug in his hand. He only remembered that after drinking 1 drop of wine, the celestial spiritual energy in his body increased, and then he lost control and fell asleep. Thinking of celestial spiritual energy, he immediately checked inside himself. After checking, his eyes revealed unimaginable shock. How long have I been asleep for? After Wang Lin began cultivating, it was very rare for him to be this shocked. The celestial spiritual energy inside my body has already far surpassed the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. I only need to comprehend my domain more to step into the life and death trial for reaching the ascendant stage. Wang Lin looked at wine jug in his hand with disbelief. What kind of wine is this? Wang Lin cautiously put the wine jug inside his bag of holding. Still feeling worried, he took it back out, placed layers of powerful restrictions on it, and then placed it back inside his bag of holding. I must completely clear this place out. At this moment, Wang Lin's interest in this place reached its peak. After the excitement, Wang Lin felt some fear. Luckily, my domain hasn't reached ascendant level yet, or else I would have begun trying to break through to the ascendant stage while asleep. I wouldn't have been able to take out the ascendant crystal Juyi gave me, and if it failed, I would have died too pitifully. Wang Lin pondered, but his eyes immediately lit up. With my current cultivation, no one at the soul transformation stage is a match for me. Now I only need my domain to reach ascendant level, then I can find a secret place to reach the ascendant stage. Here is the most secretive place of all, so once my domain has a breakthrough, I'll come back here to reach the ascendant stage. Everything in this world really depends on fate. It was a lucky coincidence that I entered his place. If not, even if I had the celestial jades, it would have taken many years to reach this state. Is this what mortals call a fortuitous encounter? Wang Lin was in a good mood because after sleeping for a year, he was in excellent condition. At this moment, he looked around, ready to break the restriction around him, when he suddenly thought of something. How long did I sleep for? If I slept for decades, or even hundreds of years, then everything outside will have changed greatly. If that is truly the case, I would have been better off cultivating on my own. Wang Lin pondered a bit as he walked within the pavilion. His eyes suddenly narrowed and his gaze fell on the bamboo grove in the distance. A corner of a fence could be seen inside the bamboo grove. Although a majority of it was covered by bamboo, after carefully looking at it, Wang Lin was able to find some clues. Earlier I didn't notice, but there is another loft here. This looks like the courtyard of a mortal temple. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin didn't go check the temple. He took out the crystal token and his divine sense entered it. There were waves of light and his figure disappeared from the cave. This video will end here.